Every sports fan has an opinion. Well, these are ours. Welcome to Brock and Pep's Unsportsmanlike Convo.
Ready?
And here are your hosts, Brock Fleming and Pep Cariotti.
What up, ladies and gentlemen? November 23rd, 2021. It's your host, Brock, and with me, new name, same face, same crooked hat. None other than Pizzazz is what we're going with. How you doing, Pep?
What's going on, boys? Oh, hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, I think I maybe lowered this up a bit. There we go. That's better. Not much. How you guys doing?
Good. All right. So we are going to get right into it for the most part.
Okay.
I'm using a different camera so you get a wider view here. And I
like
put
it.
everything we wanted to talk about on the whiteboard behind me. You know, coaches love
I
whiteboard.
like that.
I love them.
Yeah, little whiteboard action.
Little whiteboard action. So we're going to talk NFL. We got a couple of NCAA football stuff to talk about. We got the CFL playoffs in this lower corner here. And to start off the show, there's a couple of points that we wanted to talk about. The first one being college basketball.
College basketball?
College basketball is what's going to happen right now.
Okay, I'm listening.
The Colgate Raiders.
Oh, okay.
Beat the Syracuse Orangemen 100-85 in their most recent basketball matchup.
That's a big win. Anytime you beat, yeah, sure.
A very good program.
Sure.
You know, the fact that Colgate came out and dominated them from start to finish, they were leading at half and finished it off and winning by 15 was quite good. You know, it's
a great win.
A proud alumni moment there was shared all over the place. The other thing too is the Florida Gators have started 3-0. I got to jump on basketball because the football have fired Dan Mullen. We'll get on that with the other one. But that's my two basketball takes. That's probably all I got from a basketball update. But I figured it was worth mentioning Colgate's big win. So
that is a big win because whoopsie daisy. That's
we are not off to a good start. Just
hey, listen, you know what? I got up to grab some water and I fiddled around with the volume. That's better. There we go. So
doesn't have his stuff together as much as P Dog does.
I think I'm good. Syracuse Orangemen. So they're always, Jim Boeheim still coaching the Syracuse Orangemen. That's a big win. Syracuse rolls out a pretty good team every single year. I know the last couple of years they've started off not so good. They're not in the Big East anymore, so they have a tougher conference to play in. So that's a pretty big win for a program like Colgate, who really they made the dance last year, but really outside of that, they haven't really had a whole lot of success from their basketball program. 500 ball club most years. I mean, that's success in college basketball doesn't mean 500. It's not like college football where success is dictated by being in the top 25 or whatever, however it works. College basketball, you pretty much have to make the dance because 65 teams make the dance. And if you don't, it has to be considered a tough year. So good for them.
Well, yeah, so many people make the playoffs. That's the thing.
I'd be curious to know how many returnees they have from last year's team. Colgate, that is.
You'd be curious, and you would necessarily probably let me know ahead of time, and I can get that stuff for you.
I didn't know that they even played. You snuck that one up on me.
Yeah, it's true. The other point that again, basketball related here was you wanted to talk about an incident that happened at the Lakers Detroit Pistons game.
Brutal.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so there was a foul shot being taken by a Detroit Piston player, and on the little, what would have been, if you're watching left to right, on the left block you had DeAndre Jordan, and then in the middle of him was Isaiah Stewart, who's like he's the starting center for the Pistons, but really he'd be a backup on most teams. And then you had LeBron was the third guy, and the third guy usually boxes out the shooter, or in LeBron's case, he doesn't do a whole lot. Like it goes in or not, it's not going to affect him. So this guy, Isaiah Stewart, I don't know what he was thinking. If you watch the replay, And when you watch it live, you're curious because you're thinking, oh, they're just getting jumbled up and then they got tied up and so emotions flared up. But if you watch the replay, he makes no attempt to really go for the rebound because he should engage with Jordan. Jordan's the guy in the low block. Isaiah Stewart's the Piston guy. Basic common basketball behavior would dictate like Stewart either making a move to the baseline or getting to the basket to try and get the rebound if the free throw is missed. But his first step is towards LeBron. Like, it really, I don't know what he was thinking. Like, I don't know. Maybe he's just trying to agitate LeBron. LeBron was having not a great game. The Lakers were down 13 at the time. They've been losing, so there's some frustrations boiling over. Maybe he's just being a dink. I don't know. But his first move was towards LeBron, and LeBron, I think his first reaction was like, get off me, and he kind of swung his arm and it clipped Stewart in the eye. That little part of your eye that gets cut all the time if you're a boxer. Well, that's that's what happened. He was cut, he's bleeding, and then the guy just went ballistic. Like he went after LeBron, and his coaches came on. They kept him cool, and then he kind of played he played dumb, and he's like, yeah, I'll be calm. And then as they let him go, he ran around and went after LeBron again. So it was a complete gong show.
Isn't that straight playground stuff? You're like, oh, I'm okay, teach. I got us.
100%.
Take off.
100% garbage. Like, it's pure garbage.
That being said, I think the Lions have offered him a contract. Because
he's the size of a lineman. He's a big guy. He's a thick guy, but he's only 6'9". Anyway, so all that to say, the argument is like, well, the LeBron shouldn't hit him. Well, it was inadvertent. LeBron is not a dirty player. It never has been. He's a bit of a flopper, and in his old age, he's been complaining to the refs a lot. But dirty, no. I've never seen LeBron make one single dirty play in his entire career. That's not a dirty play. He was just frustrated, ended up clipping him. You could tell he kind of gets up to try to apologize. The guy was having nothing of it.
Also, the first thing you do, especially when it's a reffed event,
is,
you okay? Oh, yeah, it wasn't my fault. And don't get me wrong, I'm an LBJ supporter. I mean, that wasn't. He was frustrated and he swung. It was kind of a dirty.
I would have done the same thing, Brock. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, but you and I are both dirty athletes as well. So.
But the thing is, we're aging, right? He's slowing down. LeBron knows he's lost a step. He knows he's lost a little bit of elevation on his game. I watched him all year, and I watched him last year. There's no reason why that team shouldn't make the playoffs. LeBron has lost a little bit of a step. It's inevitable. He's 38 years old. He's played in 7 finals. A lot of miles, He's adjusting his game on the fly, but teams now are taking him to the basket. Like, they're specifically isolating him and taking him to the basket. So it's a shot at his ego. No one's ever taken him to the basket. Usually whoever he guards is like, they avoid them. But now teams are basically like, okay, well, LeBron's on me. Let's get him in foul trouble, number one.
Well, that's it.
Or let's take him. So that's the thing. And it's tough to watch because, you watch greatness lose a step. Anyway, all that to say, this incident was ugly. LeBron ended up getting suspended only for 1 game, while the other dude is suspended for 2 games.
Yeah.
Which is I think is the right call because he went nuts. It was stupid. Like, just, dude, what are you going to do? You're going to go fight LeBron James? You're going to go fight the king? What are you, nuts? He'd be out of his career would be over.
So we got a comment from a Facebook user. Not sure how you say that wasn't intentional. You can see him literally looking at the guy's face as he hammered.
Nah, man. I'm not sure who that user is, but it was intentional in the sense that he meant to hit the guy. I don't think he meant to hit him right at the top of the eye with a cut him. It's for sure
he
it was
elbow too, right? It wasn't like a hammer fist, but it was he caught him. But
it's a comment from Kurt Fleming. For love of God.
Oh. How do we ban? Can we ban? Okay, so moving on. You were mentioning about things hard to watch. There were a few games this week. We're going to the NFL. There are a bunch of games that were kind of hard to watch. We're not going to get into a lot of them. Not in depth anyways. I mean, we can go over. I mean, the Patriots destroying the Falcons. Matt Ryan is garbage. Like, I'm dropping him in a 16-team fantasy league where quarterbacks are super hard to get, and we're just over. Curse and I are like, no, we're just dumping Matt Ryan. He's just more of a pain than anything else.
Is it his fault, though? I mean, he's got no room, no time to throw, 0 time to throw. I mean, what are you going to do? What's he supposed to do? They can't run the ball. So what do you do?
Again, from a fantasy perspective, Do I care? He's not putting up the points. I don't care what the excuse is. We're tossing him. I mean, there's a couple upsets. Washington beating Carolina, was a pretty good win for them. Hey, who watched the Detroit-Cleveland game? Anybody? This is like the Detroit-Cleveland of old. I remember going to a preseason game the weekend I proposed to Ange. We were in Detroit, and it was Cleveland at Detroit. Before Cleveland had any success on the field, and this was kind of remnants of that. It was just like,
hey, if Detroit had a starting quarterback, they may have won that game.
Detroit's got. I have
played good defense
this week. Anyway,
but yeah, I have them beating the Bears. I have them beating the Bears tomorrow, Thursday night.
Okay, we're giving away our stuff for later.
Oh,
gotta ease up on that. Dolphins Jets. Not sure who tuned into that. Miami won 24-17. Ravens Bears 16-13. The Ravens squeak it out. Tennessee loses at home to the Houston Texans. That's a pretty big upset. But also where I thought Tennessee would be after losing Derrick Henry. I think is Julio still on the shelf too?
Yes. They released Adrian Peterson this morning.
Well, there you go. I mean, he didn't do anything. He's not contributing. So get rid of him. Get somebody else in.
What are you going to do? I mean, it's a rainy game. Tyrod Taylor's played well when he's been there. I think their 2 wins are with him. So, he's a professional and he can get out of the pocket. He can make some things happen, right? So, I don't know. It's a shocker, but it isn't, because when he's played well, and they have enough professional talent on the Texans to be I'll put up a fight. I wasn't overly surprised when I saw Tyrod was starting. I'm like, that guy just keeps them in the game. Like he makes enough plays on offense, gives them enough first downs to sort of keep you in the game. And their defense is all right. It's their coaching that
uses his legs effectively. Yeah. If anybody's listening from my fantasy league, don't pay attention for the next 2 seconds. But we've put a waiver claim in for Tyrod Taylor to drop Matt Ryan. That's who we're trying to get.
Are we there? Is that where we are with Matt Ryan?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, 100%. He's I will play guys like Heineke, even that I think I have him on the roster still, that Mike White for the Jets, just guys that put up more points than Matt Ryan. He's
on the COVID list.
Yeah,
he's out.
He's not starting anyway. So Tyrod's going to be our guy if we can get him. Anyway, that also goes to show how our fantasy football league is going, and it's not great. We're going to be rebuilding pretty quick. Anyway.
Hey, let's go back to the Ravens game. I'm not sure if you saw the Ravens-Bears game, but, I mean, they won with Todd Huntley or Rick Huntley or whoever Lamar Jackson didn't play. So the Bears should have won. I mean, they gave up I think there was like a 55 seconds left. The Bears scored a touchdown. It was 14-9. And you got their Rick Huntley's their third string or whatever. I don't know where he is on the Ravens depth chart, but he comes in, throws a 30-yard pass interference play. Suddenly they're at midfield with 40 seconds left, and if you're the Bears, you cannot lose that game. They're basically done. And had they won, they would have been right back in the mix. With that 7th team entering the playoffs. That is a backbreaker for the Bears, and you got to wonder. I mean, Matt Nagy's living on borrowed time here.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else you could say about it. I think isn't Khalil Mack on IR2 now or something?
They didn't have Khalil Mack. They didn't have Akeem Hicks, who's also a monster, but they still have enough guys, right? Robert Quinn's still there. They have Goldman, who's a really pretty good defensive tackle. There's enough talent there. Is it Roquan Smith? He's all over the field, that guy.
Yeah, not enough to compete with a team like the Ravens, but
with a third string, with a guy like Rick Huntley, or I don't even know who he is. Look, you got to win those games. That's all I'm saying is if you're a Bears team and you're trying to build towards the future and you have an opportunity at home, you're up 14-9. You just went for it on 4th down. You scored a touchdown on that play. With Andy Dalton in there, you got to come up with that W. Otherwise, heads got to roll. Someone's got to lose their job. I mean, the Bears there's too much on the Bears for them to be this bad, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but the thing is, I feel like they have a longer leash because of working Justin Fields in and where they think he's going to go. I think there's a bit of a longer leash right now, and the expectations aren't quite there. But moving on to next year, I think that leash gets significantly shorter. Anyways, let's go to the games that I wanted to talk about, that I thought were interesting. They were exciting to watch for the most part. You want to start with your Steelers?
Sure.
Let's finish.
Sure.
Start. Okay, let's start.
With it. Why not? We'll start with it.
At the Chargers. Now, this game started off.
I thought it was gonna be a blowout.
Yeah, I kind of stopped watching when the Chargers had gone up 33-17, maybe, and ended up flipping back sort of later. But it started a little bit slow. I thought the Steelers' red zone offense was pretty
bad.
Yeah, like it really was. The play calling that they had down in the red zone, that they left with a field goal attempt, it was really bad for a team that traditionally I thought is pretty good in the red zone, and Big Ben and at the helm, and I mean, you got a stud running back, and I just felt like you didn't use those things properly. Later on in the game, they started to adjust a little bit, which was good and kind of brought them back. But how good does Herbert look?
Well, he looked good, really good, because he was able to use his legs. But part of that was what Pittsburgh didn't do. Their scheme was really bad. They had no Joe Hayden, no Fitzpatrick, no TJ Watt. That's your all-star at every level of the defense. Devin Bush is officially a bust as far as I'm concerned. They moved up to grab him 8th in the draft. He is a bust. That guy cannot cover anybody, really, and that's what they brought him in for. I mean, it's a passing league, and he can't cover. So, they played against a makeshift defense. Poor Cam Hayward was all by himself, really. He literally was by himself on that front line. Isaiah Buggs is not
a good game.
Had a great game. He's one of the best in the NFL. Like, I mean, really is one.
Nobody sucker punches a quarterback when on the ground better than him. That was questionable.
His dad is Craig Ironhead Hayward. All I got to say is that guy, Cam Hayward, is a man among boys.
Well, and anyway, beating on a boy,
but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. The scheme wasn't good. They didn't scheme well. The coaching staff once again dropped the ball, and too many guys out, too many guys injured and out, and it was a poor scheme on top of it. So you had injuries, poor scheme, a couple of blown coverages, and like you mentioned, the red zone offense, they came away with nothing one time. I think they ended up getting a field goal once, and then they came away with nothing on a 4th down goal. They should have taken the points. Where would we be if they took the points? Where would we be if they scored touchdowns in the red zone? So, I mean, it's self-inflicted wounds with Pittsburgh, and they're not good enough to not take advantage of those situations. And anyone who's dumping on Ben, I mean, that's the 5th game in a row he hasn't thrown an interception. On the flip side, you see some of his limitations. The very last drive of the game, for example, right? They still had time to make a play. They were down 4, and there was like a minute on the clock. Plenty of time. No timeouts, but that's still plenty of time. And Ben can't move, and the pocket collapses, and he gets sacked twice to make it 3rd and 30 on your game-winning drive, on your 2-minute drill. So those are the limitations that, unfortunately, is the reality with Ben at the helm. You take the good with the bad, but I mean, it's bad play calling. It's 1st and 10, 2-minute drill. They're on I think they took it on the 25. Your first play should be like, get some chunk yards, get 10 yards here, like a crossing route, something to get some yardage. And they want to go deep instead. So he sat there, he gets sacked. Like, it's just, correct me if I'm wrong, Brock, but that's pretty fundamental football, right? That's fundamental philosophy. Clearly the Chargers are in a prevent because they're up 4. So they can give up a field goal. Like, it's just things like that are driving the Steeler fan base nuts. And if you read, Twitter went crazy. They wanted off with Ben's head, off with Matt Canada, who I think is doing a terrible job as offensive coordinator. I don't know what to say. I mean, part of it is the Chargers. Chargers played well. Unbelievable. I think that's his right arm too. Maybe he wants to play quarterback for the Steelers, right? Was that his right arm? It would have been his right arm. Impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to give credit to the Chargers, though.
I think the coaches need to be held accountable. I think, whatever. I've been saying it for a while. I think there's I don't know. I think there's a stale voice a little bit in Pittsburgh. At least I'm tired of hearing it and seeing it. I think, a fresh, some new blood in there might be good. Anyway, it is what it is. But yeah,
it's just not what they do,
That was definitely on the coaches, in my opinion. And yeah,
let's give the Chargers some credit. I do like Austin Eckler. Yeah, what did we 4 touchdowns?
Austin Eckler's the guy that at the beginning of the season said, actually, this leads me to something else I wanted to talk to you about. But he said, if you want to win your fantasy football league, draft me. And
he said that?
Yeah. And I mean, he's been putting up some serious numbers. Now, he also said in the press conference afterwards, he was talking about how good of a day it was. And he was like, I checked my fantasy team. And he obviously drafted himself. And he's like, I got 41 points, whatever. What are your thoughts on these players playing fantasy football when essentially it's them controlling it?
Well,
is there any concern there?
No, I mean, look, if they've taken themselves, they're of course they want to win. They want to play well so they can get points. And if they're not taking themselves, they're not going to affect their own performance based on that. Like, I don't know. Unless someone else has them as a player, well, I don't think it's a big deal. Have fun with it. I mean, fantasy football exists for a reason. It's fun. It's meant to be fun. There's some money involved, but like these guys, I mean, I don't think it affects them that much.
What if a guy is one of the guys is playing? Say Eckler's playing somebody in his league, and
that guy has Eckler,
and he has Eckler, and he's like,
yeah,
we're still winning. I'm gonna go out of bounds here instead of trying to get the extra one, or I'm gonna whatever. Is there any? I honestly don't think that that's an issue, and it's not something that you can. Fantasy is not like the outcome of a game as much, so it's I think even harder to control. But
if you are a player and you actually are concerned about that, and you pull a stunt like that, where I don't know, all you need is an extra yard, and the guy that you're playing in fantasy wins, so you don't get that yard, you go out of bounds. If you are that guy, you are a loser, and there's a good chance that your organization knows you're a loser, and you will not be re-signed. So, like, what are you going to do? I mean, that's just ridiculous. Any player who would do that, you're a loser. Sorry.
Producer Mike said it's no different than the bounties they used to do. And I like how you use used to do.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
I guess.
That's, again, sports is...
It's changed.
Getting to a point where it is. It's changed the whole landscape, the money that is changing hands due to sports. It's changing the landscape of sports in general, and I think it's going to affect it sooner than later. We're going to have some big things come out, and they're going to figure out, either there's controlling parties, there's different ways of regulating it. I don't know, but I think there's going to be needing some change at some point.
The NFL needs to institute some sort of robot ref in the box who can overturn or even make a call that the refs miss and get in their ear. I mean, Najee Harris took basically a forearm shiver directly to his head on purpose, and they missed it entirely, which is not challengeable. I don't think it's not a challengeable play. There should be a referee in the sky saying, throw a flag. You guys missed this one. Go under the hood and check it out and check what I'm talking about. I mean,
was there not a game where there was like the Chiefs game, the Chiefs Cowboys game? Did you watch that one?
You know what? I fell asleep. We'll talk about it in a minute.
That was anyway. It was like there was a kerfuffle on the sidelines, and one guy got a unsportsmanlike conduct call, and it was only on the Chiefs guy initially, and then the refs came together, and of course they had the jumbo thing that was showing that the Cowboy guy had ripped the guy's helmet off first. That's why he reacted that way. Anyway, refs huddled up sort of thing and called a face masking call on the Cowboys and said they were offsetting, which is the right call, but it's not supposed to be something you can review through film. So they did it anyway. I don't know if they used a Jumbotron or if they said somebody else. You all right there, bud?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Or if they said somebody else, saw it maybe. But I've said this before. The NFL needs to adopt what college football does. College football, essentially, every play is reviewed in a booth. And if there's something seen that isn't caught, they buzz down to the ref and they stop the play for a second. And then they get the call right. Now, yeah, there's a risk of that it slows the game down. Sure. But now you got to start weighing what's more important, stopping the game and having it a little bit slower or having the calls right. It's just not going to be, there's still refs on the field. So if it's, again, if it's a significant difference, like that play is a 15-yard penalty, a first down, automatic first down, and maybe the drive stays alive or whatever happens to be. But within reason, they got to be able to review these things.
Do like tennis. They have, except in tennis, it's a robot. Have an NFL referee that is assigned to every single game. He's the head ref. He's not on the field, and he can make calls where he thinks a call is missed. We can even just designate that as the referee who's able to call make penalties that are missed or overturn calls that were made on the field. And it shouldn't be even like debatable. The call comes from that ref to the head ref on the field, and that's that. So no time is wasted. He's the ref. He can see it all from there. We see it all from where we're sitting. These refs don't see it in real time because these guys are so fast and strong. So they have to go under the hood and waste time. Have a ref up top, get right in the ear of the referee in real time. Boom, bam. There's no review under the hood, bud. I just saw it. This is the call. Go out and make the call. And that's it. It's not rocket science, but the NFL lives this old country club. They're averse to change. It's like, guys, get with the times. Every referee crew in every sport is just living this in the old ages. Like, get with the times, guys. These athletes are super fast, super quick. Analytics has taken over, and we're still living in the we're under review. Like Jerome Boger is one of the worst NFL referees. He actually goes under the hood and makes the wrong call. That's how bad some of these referees are in the NFL.
No, fair. Yeah, tennis has their robot. Tennis has
it's a bad example.
That's it. Tennis, that technology can be used and should be used for like baseball strike zones.
Yeah, it's a bad example.
Boom. Football is a little bit more elaborate. It's not going to be one guy. It's going to be a bit more of a conglomerate of people with monitors and stuff. There's a variety of different angles and stuff. So
they have the money.
But at the same time, that team should be able to, again, it's a quick buzz, just like in college. Buzz it. So the buzz means just stop for a second. Then you say, okay, we're in your ear. Instead of the ref then going to review the play or something like that. In college, they're waiting for what's coming from upstairs. They're saying, no, this happened. This is the right call. It's at this yard line, whatever. And they go out and execute it. That's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. That alone is, and college football doesn't take any longer than NFL. Like they're not stopping plays unless it needs to be stopped.
Yeah. Do it.
It makes
what are you waiting for?
Anyway.
Look, it's frustrating, especially if you really are a diehard fan and you're cheering for a team hard. It's frustrating to watch this stuff, man. It's frustrating. And Najee Harris took a forearm to the head and he missed basically 2 series. He's the entire offense. You missed that call. Like you clearly missed that call, just like you missed the call with. Well, I think they ended up calling a penalty on Hayward, but he may have been ejected had they seen that the one punch to Herbert's stomach, which I don't know. I don't know what was going on. Maybe he was getting pushed from behind. That's very unlike Cam Hayward. So I don't know what. Maybe something was said, or you never know, right? You never in those piles. You never know what's going on. But it was pretty. He may have been kicked out of the game, so they missed that one as well, just to play fair. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I've run 50 yards, whatever is to rushed and then run 50 yards to try and tackle this quarterback. I would be pretty agitated when I got there too. So it doesn't take much probably to set you off.
Yep.
Anyway, and then the whole debate on unsportsmanlike conduct calls where Hayward's punch would be 15, the same as somebody walking in the end zone. I don't know if you saw that, where he's like pointing at the other player, like taunting.
Terrible.
You know what I mean? And you say, well, that's the same 15 yards. You say, well, that doesn't make sense either.
No,
anyway,
no.
There's a lot of stuff in the NFL I don't necessarily like, and they need to sort of adjust. But moving on, so that game was entertaining. I think the Chargers really showed up. The Colts at Bills. Another game that had some pretty good implications. Not necessarily the outcome that Curtis was looking for. Our pal Ron Rico, who had a baby and also his birthday sort of in the same time frame. Both events overshadow the fact that the Bills really got handed a pretty good beating, 41-15 by the Colts.
They sure did. Colts are built for any kind of system. They can run the ball or they can pass it. They've got a good fast defense. I mean, that the Bills' problem is continue to plague them. The same problem they had last year is they can't run the ball, or they don't. I'm not even sure if they can't. They just don't. I think they had 3 rushing attempts in the second half or something ridiculous. Like, I understand you're down, but you got to be able to run the ball effectively in Buffalo. That you're going to get that weather. It's going to rain. It's going to snow. It's going to be windy. It's Buffalo, New York. I mean, they're not built to be like even the Jim Kelly days where they were tossing all over the field. Well, guess what? They also had what I consider to be one of the top 5 running backs of all time. The originator of the catching the pass in the backfield. It's Thurman Thomas, man. Like he was fantastic at that. So yeah, I mean, they got to be able. Broncos just released Phillip Lindsay. Maybe they take a look at him. Maybe they look at bringing a guy in like him who's got some wheels and run him on the outside. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, if you can't run in between the tackles, then you need to be creative in a way of essentially accomplishing the same thing. So a guy like Lindsay, who's the little screen pass, the little dump offs just outside. Again, they're technically passes, but they are the run game.
They have the same effect.
To do that kind of stuff. The disappointing thing for me is that Josh Allen is a guy like Herbert, but bigger. I think Allen's bigger. He's thicker anyway. He needs to create some of these runs. Like that's what you're getting paid $200 million to do, is to effectively move this ball. And it's not, you can't just flip it on and say, oh, I'm only going to start doing that when it snows or whatever. You got to use your legs. I watched a Herbert play, and there's like an internal clock when I'm watching the quarterback. Like if I pay attention to the quarterback, say, okay, he's dropping. Maybe I'm not even watching the receivers. I'm just looking at the O-line and the pocket and the quarterback. And there's like they talk about the quarterback's internal clock. It's the same thing. I'm watching them. My clock is going at that point, and I can see what the pressure is. And in my mind, there's a time where it's like time to go. Like you haven't got it. It's time to go right now. I can feel the pocket. Herbert moves almost at the same time that I get that initial feeling. Josh Allen doesn't. And I think, I've always talked about it. I don't know what it is, whatever with Josh Allen. It's that. It's when I watch him play, my internal clock and my warning lights there are going, and he is not. He's still trying to find a path downfield or whatever, or the window to run is gone. And that's the thing that, again, it just doesn't jive as much for me. But Herbert, again, was on the ball. Every time it was like that clock went, he was gone. So I kind of wanted to ask you, just, based on, again, it's a smaller window. I'm pretty sure Curtis is probably waiting to jump in here because he's going to jump down my throat at some point. Would you take Herbert or Josh Allen right now? If you said, you know what, Big Ben's out, we can trade for one of these guys. Who are we taking?
I'd take Josh Allen right now, only because we saw Herbert. I've seen Herbert play 3 times this year. The one was against the Chiefs where he looked really good, and then one was awful. Like one was basically the defense knew what they were doing against him. So again, Pittsburgh had 4 guys on the defensive line that they 2 of them were from their practice squad, and one guy they actually called who was on someone else's practice squad, and they played like 80% of the game. So, those gaps opened up. I mean, I like that kid Slater on the left side. I mean, they were creating gaps for Herbert to run, but there was also a ton of room to run because Pittsburgh's all or nothing. They either blitz you to hell or they back everybody up, and there's no in between. That's where they really struggle. So, if he wasn't running, he was passing because Pittsburgh gave him anything they wanted, anything the Chargers wanted. So it was kind of a smoke and mirrors game. 41 points, that's a lot of points on the Steelers defense, but that just goes to show how many people were missing off the defense. Josh Allen, I think when it comes to his decision making, whether to run or not, I think guys were in his ear maybe not last year, but the year before, saying, "Hey, stay in that pocket just a little bit longer and trust your eyes. Don't take off right away. So, you start to wonder, well, okay, well, maybe I should start taking off again, but these guys were telling me not to take off. And this is like, I really think Sean McDermott did a bad job of adjusting at halftime. He didn't make any adjustments, and the Colts just kept doing what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts.
Some of that's on the coach.
Yeah, some of that's on the coach, the offensive coordinator, the play calling. Again, the plays that the Bills are running are not conducive to a windy, cold, snowy playoff run. So, at some point, you need to sort of have a better balance, and that's not coming. And I guess I expect that, again, from the first couple of years with Josh Allen, you sort of expect him to make things happen. And I'm still waiting for that this season. We'll see what happens.
One notable from that game is if you notice the passes to Stephon Diggs, they were perfect, but they had to be perfect. So the Colts, like every other team's been doing, is taking him away or trying to take him away. And if you want to use Diggs, you got to make a practically perfect pass to get that ball to him. There was an out route that I think Allen made it. It was like the perfect pass. But how many times are you going to be able to do that without pressure and all the other stuff? So the guys like Gabe Davis and Emmanuel Sanders and Beasley, those guys they're basically saying, you beat me with these guys. And no offense to those guys, but if Diggs wasn't in the picture, could the Bills win with those three guys at wide receiver? I'm not so sure. They're great secondary guys. Don't get me wrong.
With no running game, they can't.
With no running game, I mean, you're going to throw the ball in the cold and snow to Cole Beasley, like who's 5'11" or 5'10". He's not a big target. That ball is off a little bit left or right, and you're screwed. So, I mean, you sort of they win and lose. They live and die by what they are, which is they're showing us that they're just a passing team, and it's a tough city to be a passing team. They got to run the ball.
I wonder if maybe this is strategic. I think, fact checker Curtis is done his workout, and 2, he's signing off because we're trashing the Bills. I wonder if this is strategic on the Bills' part, because if they happen to not host a playoff game, maybe there'll be better weather somewhere else. They say, our game is better for going
embrace
in the Colts or whatever.
These teams need to embrace their environment, like embrace it, like get a huge running back, like get a guy like Jonathan Taylor in Buffalo. That's what Pittsburgh's finally doing. They're like, look, we can't run past the ball when it's when we're playing playoff football. We can't. Let's get Najee Harris and let's get some big boys up front. So, I mean, I think the Bills still need to find themselves their cowbell or bell cow or whatever that term is. A guy that they can give the 15 or 20 touches every single game, whether he gets 50 yards or 100 yards, it keeps everybody else honest. So I think that's the one thing the Bills are still missing, but they'll be fine. There's Josh Allen's, like, as far as I'm concerned, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So I'm not worried about him too much.
The Bills have the Saints this week, but the week after is a Monday night showdown between the Bills and the New England Patriots, who are coming on pretty strong. And I think there is a chance that the UC might do a roadie and go catch a Monday nighter.
Enjoy it, boys.
There's a rumor. There's a rumor.
Nice.
The last game, did you watch the Cowboys and the Chiefs, the age-old rivalry, the Cowboys and the Chiefs, the old stories, the Cowboys and the Chiefs?
I watched it. I watched it for about 5 minutes. It was boring. 19-9. It wasn't as exciting as it was lived up to be. Dallas still is not there yet. They've got all the weapons, but they're not there yet. No Amari Cooper, that didn't help. I think CeeDee Lamb got hurt
a little bit too.
Zeke Elliott benefits from a pretty awesome offensive line, but I don't know how elite he is yet.
The Chiefs' defense is a different beast when Chris Jones is on the interior defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
He put Zach Martin, one of the best guards in football, on skates multiple times. I think he had 3.5 sacks that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they tried to put him on the end and tried to, move him around and stuff at the beginning of the season. He belongs inside, same where Aaron Donald belongs, different styles. But he is a man among boys there, and he's going against, again, arguably some of the top guards who play for the Cowboys, and he had his way with them.
Yep. I also like the play of Sneed at cornerback, and they're both cornerbacks played really, really well. I think that's a product a little bit of the pressure they were putting on Dak Prescott, but I mean, they're defending a lot better. I think they were getting healthier. They were injured at the beginning of the year, so I mean, Chiefs are the Chiefs, man. They're too talented to be down the whole season. If anyone thought they were going to have a down year after starting the way they started, I mean, pump the brakes. Um, the Patriots were 0-3. Now they're 7-4. So I mean, let's pump the brakes on these guys that are tried and tested, and they have enough talent to keep going. I think beginning of the year, Mahomes, his family got himself in some hot water. Maybe his head wasn't right, but he's looking fine. They'll be fine.
They're TikToking all over the fields, and Sean Taylor's, they say memorial, but it's like a painted number on the field that was roped off, and he's on there. Anyway, just a moron. Yeah. They're getting guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire back and stuff too. So that's going to start to help roll. Anyway,
and that division's falling apart. I mean, the Raiders are no longer a factor, and the Broncos, you have no idea what you're going to get from them week to week. I'd say the Chargers really only competition for them in that division, and I mean they're good, but I think the Chargers still lack a few pieces on the I want to say on the defensive end, but they play pretty well.
Yeah, I thought they played really well. Anyway,
they also gave up 37 points to a team that doesn't really score a lot. So I mean, they played well enough. But anyway,
they're well enough to win. Mm-hmm. Okay, so NFL real quick. This Thursday is the U.S. Thanksgiving weekend. Most people's favorite Thursday to take off. Fortunately, I have French tutoring or something that day. I don't have it, but there is 3 games lined up. So starting noon on Thursday, if you're teleworking, taking the day off, whatever happens to be, you can throw that on the background. The Bears are at the Lions at noon. The Raiders are at the Cowboys in the afternoon, and then the Bills are at the Saints in the evening. Who are your 3 picks in those games?
Oh, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Bears loss to the Ravens was the backbreaker. That's the one that they just can't recover from now. I think the Lions get their first win on Thanksgiving. I don't care who's playing quarterback for them. I think they're going to get their win. I think they're going to run the ball well. And Detroit.
Raiders and Cowboys.
I got the Cowboys. The Raiders are a mess. They're just they're a mess emotionally, and I don't think Derek Carr is as good as anyone's made him out to be. I mean, they're just a mess. So, I mean, and how could they not be with everything that's gone on with Henry Ruggs and Gruden, and it's just a disaster. They bring in Deshaun Jackson, and I mean, how is that going to help their team? An aging guy who, he's demonstrative when he doesn't get the ball. It's a mess. I got the Cowboys. It's not even going to be close, I don't think.
I agree. Bills at Saints.
That's a tough one because the Saints play really good defense. And they're fast up front. Their front 4 are really fast. But I'm gonna take the Bills because there's just it's almost a must win for them. They can't go 6-5 and fall in the pack with that group of Bengals, Browns. It's not a good situation if they got to fall back into that pack. So I think I'm gonna go with Bills.
I think the Bills, get out of this funk a little bit. I think they're going to be able to hang a little bit. Hopefully, they establish the run game a little bit more. Didn't my computer still sound good to you? Nope. You're saying I'm breaking.
There you
go. Okay, can you hear me?
No, that's good.
Okay. Yeah. This is the amount of electrical tape I have on this one connection of my Ethernet cable. And how that dictates whether or not the show goes without a hitch is stupid. Okay, so I'm going to have to change that. I have the same picks as you, so I think everybody's going to be in that same boat. Real quick, let's go. So we'll do college football. We're going to have to just wing it. Let's go college football first. You can't hear me?
Why? You're echoing right now, pal. We're taking an impromptu timeout here, folks. This is a 20-second timeout, but we're not going anywhere.
Let's go. NCAA,
I can't. Yeah, you're echoing like crazy, my friend. Just give us a quick second. Let's just cut scene for a sec here. Maybe put up our swag picture while you fix your. That, friends, is.
You hear me okay? We're good?
No, you're choppy.
We're going to NCAA football. We get comments here. Let's see if it's all right. So,
all right. Well, I'm not going to talk NCAA football because I don't know what you wanted to talk about, but I will impromptu. Ottawa Senators lost 7-5 shootout last night. This kid Sanford scored 3 goals. Never heard of him. So that was interesting. I haven't been watching too much hockey lately, but the Calgary Flames are on fire. So if we're following Canadian teams here, the Flames seem to be pretty impressive. I'm kind of going off the board here, but yeah, you know what, Brock? We can't hear you, my friend. This is our first UC. I don't even want to call this flub. Maybe a flub. Ain't no flub. Just echoey. Hey, listen, we got 45 minutes of good content in.
All right. I apologize for anybody who can't hear me or whatever the hell is going on. There, nothing good.
Well, we can. You're coming across for anyone listening, and for Brock, for your information, you're coming across. It's just you're choppy. It's like you're. I can't really hear you.
All right. You can't hear me.
Well, why don't we call it a show? We'll reconvene and do better next week. Sorry for the technical difficulties for anyone who's listening. I'm glad we got through all of our NFL talk. I did want to talk about the LeBron James situation. We got through that. Raptors continue their road trip, I believe, tomorrow. The Lakers are at the Knicks tonight. That's going to be a good game. No LeBron James, but the Lakers came back and beat the Pistons during that crazy game. By the way, that game was the day after the Malice at the Palace anniversary. So the whole thing was really crazy. Anyway, if you're a basketball fan, tune in tonight. Lakers at Knicks. Knicks are a much improved team. They made the playoffs last year, and they picked up Kemba Walker in the offseason. So that'll be a fun game to watch. I don't know who the Raptors got next, but it's a tough road trip for the Raptors, and they picked up a win in Sacramento. Sacramento finally fired Luke Walton after going I think they were 5-11. I mean, I don't know what they were waiting for, but anyway, they got rid of Luke Walton. It's been a tough go in Sacramento. There's too much talent on that team for them to be that bad. So I think Luke Walton's dad, or his pedigree with the Lakers, being a former Laker, I think he just his leash was just way too long. Anywhere he's been, he hasn't won as a head coach, and I think that particular franchise just stayed with him a little bit too long. And that stunts the growth of some players, and the Kings have had first-round pick after first-round pick, and those guys start getting frustrated. They end up being wasted picks. So let's see what else in the NBA here. Ben Simmons, his situation continues to get worse. He claims that there's, mental health is keeping him from getting back on the court, and the Sixers are saying, well, if you don't get back on the court, we're going to fine you, and it's just a crazy situation. But if I'm the Raptors, I'd check in on Ben Simmons. Just saying. I know that's not a popular sentiment, but he is a great player. He plays good defense. He leads the team in rebounds last year. He was an all-star. He's young. And his only problem is he doesn't shoot free throws well. I mean, so practice your free throws. You bring him in, you say, look, you as part of your contract, you got to shoot 1,000 free throws a week. I mean, keep it simple, So I don't think he's a broken player by any means. I think the Philadelphia is not doing him any favors. So there's my NBA take. Brock, how are you doing? Give us. I mean, I can hear you. It's just choppy as choppy gets.
I'm on Wi-Fi, so this is streamer, not me. All right. Peace out, everybody. Peace.
Take care. We could probably cut scene.